right, here we go. The Big 12 South, 4 teams. We might have an analyst that covers a team in the Big 12 or 2 or 3 or a coach or even players. And we break the 16 teams into 4. This was Craig's idea, calling it the pods, and this is the Big 12 South pod. Texas Tech, TCU, Oklahoma State, Baylor, and Texas Tech, if they win again, the others in this pod may need to be dismissed, relegated into a 5th pod. Texas Tech is at home. They have won the close games. They have also been able to win a game on the road, of course, at Arizona. Had the one bad loss earlier to Washington State, but they're at home. Joey McGuire, last time they played Baylor in Lubbock, Baylor thumped them pretty good. Now, Tech beat Baylor's, you know what, last year badly. Paul Catalina, Joey McGuire. Huh?
Yeah, who didn't?
Yeah.
Join the club.
Joey McGuire. And you know how, and even we talked about this when he was on earlier on Monday. Well, obviously, this has special meaning.
Yeah, it certainly does. I think that this is a rivalry anyway, or like this 2 teams that don't like each other, and then when you've got coach staff transference that adds to it. The way Tech is playing right now, I just don't see Baylor being able to score enough, and I don't see them being able to stop Tech enough, especially given what Taj Brooks did to them last year. I don't see much different on his end. In fact, I think he's better this year than he even was last year. Tech hasn't had to play. The biggest thing is so far to this point in the season, they haven't had the merry-go-round at quarterback that's been over the last few years. And Baron Morton's gotten to play every single week, and that's helped them be consistent on offense. And there's a reason they're 5-1. There's a reason they're in contention for the conference. And I just think that they're just a lot better right now, and they're playing confident, and Baylor's not.
I don't think that they're that much better than Baylor. I think they've just been much more fortunate in how games have ended. I think Baylor's got a way you can say, hey, we could very easily be, 4-2. And you can look at Tech's schedule and say they could be like 2-4. Right? I mean, Baylor, you lose the game to Colorado that you had no business losing, and the BYU game, which if you just start a little bit better, I'm not going to give them any benefit of the doubt. Like Iowa State beat them up, but for Texas Tech, I mean, you barely got a lot out alive in your opener versus ACU at home. Like they pushed you to the ultimate limit. Arizona State game, an 8-point game. Cincinnati's missing a field goal to send that to overtime at the end of the game. Arizona, a 6-point win. Even though you dominated a lot of portions of that game, that was still a close game when all was said and done. You let them have an opportunity. So it's not like Tech's just blowing people away and Baylor's getting blown out is my point. So I think that leans towards 2 teams who are not that far off from one another. But when you start to break down the differences, I do like the fact that Tech is playing in Lubbock for their purposes. I do like the fact that they have a lot more confidence, belief. I especially like that they know who they are. They have an identity. It's West Texas tough. It's Take 3. It's the brand. It's for Baylor, I don't know. I still don't know what the hell it is. I don't know what their identity is.
No identity, none.
It was the people over players and person over player, and they realized, like, that's a terrible identity when you're trying to win football games because you need the players to play and not just be good people. So I think that's where Texas Tech really has the significant advantages is just knowing who they are. They're great about making the timely play. They're great about making the plays that you need to win, and Baylor's not. And those are the big differences in where their records sit. Texas Tech's also played a lot of games at home. This is yet another one. They're very good at Jones AT&T, so I think they win this game. I think they move to 6-1. That'll be a big deal. And then it's a matter of like, okay, well, how high can we take this? 8, 9, 10? Like, what are we talking about here? But take care of this one and then have that conversation, and I think that they should. I think for Baylor, I think it'll be an admirable effort, but I just can't trust them to go win a game anywhere, much less in Lubbock.
Yeah, this also, if Tech just like farts around and has a couple of things go wrong, this would be a screeching halt, like hitting a concrete guardrail.
This would be a bad loss.
Yeah, it would
be a bad loss.
Because right now things feel good, and you can see it. They're not flawless by any means. They've got some warts. Most everybody does, but Texas Tech, Baylor in that one. Now,
I think Baron Morton's played very solid. Taj Brooks is obviously tremendous, and he's the engine in that whole machine, but they've got some playmaking wide receivers that kind of do a set of different things. And, that defense is a question mark, but I don't know that this is the week that those things necessarily get taken advantage of. They could, but I'll lean Tech at home.
Two teams playing each other. The focus is on TCU with the Big 12 South pod. They're at Utah. Two teams that desperately need a win.
Yeah, I don't know who to pick in this game. I lean Utah slightly, but if you look at really any predictions, I think everybody's just – let's just say this. It's pretty much a toss-up game is what this is. I mean, I don't think there's a great feel for Utah. I don't think there's a great feel for TCU at the moment. The big thing for TCU is Josh Hoover has to stop throwing interceptions. They have to stop fumbling. They have to stop turning the ball over. That is absolutely killing them. Whether they can run or whether they just choose not to run, I guess pick a moment and have that conversation because it's one or the other. Most of the time, the bottom line is they don't run for whatever reasons they've decided. They are a pass team. And so when you're passing all the time and your guy's suddenly throwing picks, then that's very problematic. And that's been the case here recently for TCU. That Houston game was an atrocious loss. That's just an inexcusable loss at home for Sonny Dykes, and that's why the heat's really getting turned up after the early couple losses because it's one thing to lose. It's another thing to turn around and get beat at home by arguably the worst team in the league. So interested to see what they look like on the other side of this bye. I do think they still have some talent that's capable of winning a few games down the stretch. I think this game's winnable. It's the Big 12. They're all winnable, but can they clean up some of the mistakes offensively? Can Hoover protect the football a bit better? And can this defense be any better? At this point, there's nothing drastic that's going to occur, but that's obviously been a big disappointment with Andy Avalos taking over. And Joe Gillespie, who was the defensive coordinator and the scapegoat last year, is having a good old time back in the high school game, and we've enjoyed covering him. So thank you for that, Sonny Dykes. That's worked out well for us, actually.
Absolutely, and it's not like he got stupid overnight. Not a lot of coaches, again, it's not like Sonny Dykes did either, but there are issues there at TCU, no question.
And this is a toss-up to me. TCU could go win this, and Utah could win. I don't know, flip a coin.
I'm going to take Utah at home. I think they're going to go back to basics. You hear about that? Go back to basics. Now, what are the basics compared to what they're used to? No. But I think that they'll go back to basics. They sure can't get into a track.
I think Mekhi Bernard is a big part of this. And look, they can't stop the run. And the other thing TCU can't do is run it. So because of that, you give the Utah defense, pretty much the chance to rush for and drop everybody else back. And I think that becomes really, really problematic for TCU. But yeah, they're just. Josh Hoover, he's actually on the top 5 today. I think he's one of the most improved players in the country, but he can't throw interceptions because he can't run the ball. So, it's all on him, which is not really fair. But if it's all on him, then he can't make those mistakes. That's the big thing. He's 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions right now. And this, a good chunk of those interceptions have led to those losses that they have, although he's far from their biggest problem.
All 6 have come in the last 3 games.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Have they really?
Yeah.
No,
he's had 2 in each of the last 3 games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
2 of those are losses.
Yeah. And so he's got to fix that. And it's not fair that he's the only one that right now is not allowed to make a mistake, but unless the running game gets better, that's where their offense is going to be for the rest of the year.
Is he to TCU what Sawyer is for Baylor?
I was going to say pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, those two teams are such mirror images of each other in every single way.
All right, TCU, and they need a win. Utah, obviously, in a free fall, but now the king of free fall in the Big 12 right now. With all due respect, other teams are not as good or worse, but Oklahoma State with losses to Utah, K-State, West Virginia, 3 good teams, and now on the road against BYU on a Friday night game in Provo on ESPN.
Whew, don't love this for you, Cowboys fans. I think this is a unique challenge going up to Provo on a Friday night. Vampire Cougs in full effect with the late kickoff. And that's just a kind of a thing that people talk about when it comes to just BYU playing at night, in particular, the Vampire Cougs. So they're going to have the full Vampire Cougs experience. I found this interesting. Mike Gundy's never played or never coached. I don't know if he ever played. I don't think he played either, but had never coached a game at Provo, and I heard that, and I was like, do they know what they're getting into on Friday night? Like, I do wonder if there's an element of understanding just how chaotic it's going to be in Provo, because we've seen how it's derailed a lot of other teams. Kansas State here in recent memory got very much sidetracked by the atmosphere in Provo. So that's another element. In addition to the fact that BYU is just a really good team, it gives you a lot of problems if you played in Timbuktu at noon on a Saturday. That would still be problematic for you given your deficiencies. And what are those deficiencies right now? I would love for any Oklahoma State fan to tell me how to fill in these blanks, because I have not seen official word, and I've been busy today, so maybe it's out there and I've missed it for some reason. But who's the starting quarterback?
Garrett Rangel.
Okay, it is going to be Rangel.
Yeah,
is Ollie Gordon playing?
I don't know that.
I don't even know if it matters, but it does matter.
Well, I just saw a tweet from Ollie Gordon from back on September 21st. This just popped up. This was after things kind of started to slip. Count us out if you want to. It'll be your biggest regret. That was a month ago.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I like Ollie Gordon, but I also think maybe some of the success last year has aided in some of the difficulties of this year. Sure, the O-line, and sure, quarterback play, and sure, the defense, but I think maybe a little look in the mirror, too. I think everybody can do that in Stillwater right now, Mike Gundy included. So they've got a difficult test against a difficult team in a difficult atmosphere and a lot of question marks. And I just don't feel great about picking them in any way, shape, or form in this game. So they're staring at 3-4 and 0-4 in the conference after this weekend. If they go pull a massive upset, I will give them all sorts of flowers on Monday, but I just don't see it right now.
What kind? Yeah. Roses?
Yeah, they'll need it.
I don't whatever they want. They would deserve it.
Anything but carnations.
But
right?
look, even Wet Blanket, he said they're conceding the season because they're going to Rangel over Zane Flores, but I don't know. I don't know the details of that competition. I don't know.
Well,
Zane has been
a lot of times
banged up.
Our fans, viewers who are fans, is making is Flores 100%? Is this the only option other than Bowman? And so I don't know that, but appreciate a lot of you guys for the feedback who follow Oklahoma State.
But look, they hit the wall with Alan Bowman and what they could do, and he.
I mean, it's the defense is the biggest issue, but it doesn't help him at all. No.
So we'll see with now knowing he's going to be the starter. Can Rangel be better? I don't know. We'll see. I mean, that's all remains to be seen. They have some tremendous skill players, but the offensive line, the defensive line, like the guys you need to make the engine go have not lived up to their billing this year.
Rangel with this quote, I feel like, and this was from Ocali.com, I feel like all the hard work and preparation we had just from my freshman year to last year to this year, it's finally paying off. I'm excited to go out there and just let it all hang out next week against BYU. And, of course, that was last week, and now it is this week. So we now go to Baylor. I think we've talked about them plenty, haven't we?
I mean, we need to give everybody their just due regardless.
Yeah. Well, we did with 30 minutes with Seth Russell, but I agree.
We also talked a lot about,
here's
the good
what
old
I
days.
wrote. Here's what I wrote. We had one person who made predictions that predicted Baylor would win in Lubbock. If they do, fantastic. Craig will give you flowers too. But Tech wins close games. Baylor doesn't. Tech is playing with great confidence and have an identity. Baylor doesn't. They have Taj Brooks, and Baylor can't stop the run. You're on the road at now they won there a couple of years ago. You're on the road in a very difficult environment. If you don't start well like you did against Ames, but still crumbled, you could get absolutely blown the hell out of that stadium. I don't think Baylor can win it. If they do, great win for Dave Aranda. And a very bad loss for Tech. I have Tech winning by a couple of touchdowns.
Yeah, I think Tech wins. I see all the good things about Baylor and all the things that are better, but they're not confident. And that is, you see them at the end of the games. They're not playing confident. They're playing scared, or they're nervous, or whatever adjective you want to use to describe them. But it's just not there. It's just not there. And I think they're running out of answers.
Well, I'm interested to see Sawyer Robertson go back home and play in front of a Jones AT&T crowd that I'm sure will have a lot of members of his family and friends and all that. So pretty cool to have a homecoming opportunity to go play college ball in your hometown. I just think that's cool. And I would love to see him have a Rocco Becht type of game where, Becht goes to Morgantown last week. Not that he's from there, but his parents, both Mountaineers legends, his father getting inducted into freaking Athletics Hall of Fame, for that game was pretty cool. But, so in so many ways, that's part of his roots, and he goes out there and Iowa State gets a big win. Would love to see Sawyer be able to do that out in Lubbock, but I'm not banking on it. I just don't think that this team has an identity, and I know that they haven't shown the ability to close a game. And I think that the lowest percentage odds of outcomes here is Baylor winning in a blowout. Tech winning a blowout, you could totally see that. Close game either way, you could totally see that. Baylor going in there and winning a blowout, impossible to see that scenario, how that would play out. So that means if you're going to win this game, you got to win a close game, which you have not done. And do that on the road in what should be a pretty festive atmosphere. They're fortunate this isn't even worse, like it's at night and you get the whole blackout atmosphere. It's a day game, but yeah, I think they're good enough. Like everybody else in the Big 12, I'll keep saying it ad nauseum. Everybody's good enough to beat everybody on any given week, but I just don't see them marching into Lubbock. Had Tech come off of like a disappointing game last week or something, that would be maybe something that could change it in the other way, the other direction. But Tech also had a bye week, so they sat there for 2 weeks like you did, preparing for you. So, yeah, I think Baylor's going to be 2-5. And then the schedule truly does lighten up. Like, this is the end of, like, the toughest part of their schedule. But I don't know. Will it even matter? I don't know.
All right. Yeah, but they have to go 5-1.
Right.
Like, that's a thing. And if you could go 5-1.
And I'm 6-1.
You would be.
You're 5-10.
But they literally will
yeah.
have played the top 4 teams in the league at the end of this week, if not the top 5 in a row.
It's like Chad Brendel said yesterday. You thought what looked like an opening, all of a sudden these are the teams that are better than they're supposed to be. That's what the Big 12 seems to be constantly year in and year out.